Welcome everybody to this exciting webinar hosted by the Cannabis Means Business Conference. I'm your host, Jillian Reddish. I'm the co-founder of the Global Cannabis Network Collective. And with my work, I do a ton of travel and visiting trade shows all over the world. So through that, I'm super excited to be supporting the Cannabis Means Business Conference as part of their commitment to continuing to evolve with the cannabis industry to always be delivering meaningful, actionable business opportunities and connections. So that's what we're doing here today. We're bringing in some connections to highlight secrets to maximizing your trade show's ROI. It's a big topic, it's a big spend, but there's ways to be cost effective about it and really make sure that you're getting bang for your buck. So I have some fantastic guests here with me today. I'd like to invite them to say hello first before we dive into the content. So first off, please welcome Jen Hoff, president of Taffy Events. And through Taffy Events, she's also the show director of Cannabis Means Business.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Hoff, as Jillian said, and I am the show director for the Cannabis Means Business show. And I have been in the trade show business for years and years, more than I can like to say. But it's interesting to me to be part of this industry and how it ties back to a lot of the other industries that I've produced trade shows with over the years, from fashion to national retail to food and beverage, even the supply chain, agriculture, all those types of things are tie it back to this industry. And I find it fascinating. And I'm really excited for the show in New York and to help enlighten the exhibitor and sponsor base to get the best out of it and make the most of it.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to be tapping into your knowledge today with this webinar. And then next up, please help me welcome Marcos Rodriguez, who is the head of product development at Blazy Builds and Blazy Susan, based in Denver, Colorado. So welcome, Marcos.
Hi, Jillian. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I've also been in the exhibition design and production business for about 10 years now. I've gotten to work on all aspects of production, from installation. I've run several production facilities here in Denver and originally out of Miami, Florida. And I've been doing everything from retail interiors, exhibits, music festivals, anything to do with experiential marketing is kind of my bread and butter. And I'm here to hopefully, answer some questions and help get everybody's head on straight for such a big endeavor. I know trade shows there are a lot of moving parts happening in real time, and it could be a little overwhelming, and things get forgotten. So hopefully I'll be able to bring some tips and tricks for the exhibitors to not forget the important little things that make the trade show day a little bit more survivable.
Oh, for sure. And here we are, in early February of 2025, and this is an excellent time for folks to be kind of taking stock and reassessing their booths, their design, their partners in action for all of this. So we're about to dive into some of those key principles and how you can be most cost effective and prepared. First, we're going to be hearing from Marcos. He has a really great presentation for us to review from tips and tricks that I'll be walking through with him, and then we'll kick it over to Jen and we'll go through the exhibitor services guide and some things a little bit more tailored to the CMB show itself. All right, so with that, first, Marcos, I want to queue up because I love on your LinkedIn how you said you're obsessed with engagement through surprise and delight and weaving that into every aspect of the user experience. Surprise and delight is something is an aspect of marketing that, as a marketer myself, I personally love. I wish we were seeing so much more of. But at trade shows, those are definitely the elements that people really remember. And I want everybody to understand that with Blazy Builds, they get really creative. And if you check out their LinkedIn page and everything, you'll see all these people saying, I'll never forget this booth that you did 5 years ago at MJ Biz, or I'll never forget, this was so incredible. Yeah, so this is the fun, creative, and also just cost-effective aspect that Marcos and Blazy Builds brings. So um, I'd like to invite you to go ahead and share your screen, Marcos, so you can dive into the presentation that you have for us, helping people kind of get creative with these things. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, so kind of first off, the big key question here is, how do you deliver and drive high impact for booths? And just kind of with that question, I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, at Blazy Builds, and I've always kind of carried this philosophy in working with any client. Um, Everybody, when you think of the booth, you start to fixate on the booth, and so I regularly see people worry about things like the physical structure and what's going to go in it, and things like the signage and marketing collateral and all that, and all that's really important. But I think that even more important than that sometimes is designing something from the point of view of the visitor. In any exhibit, or especially in a trade show situation, you have kind of information overload. You get there and there's dozens to hundreds of booths, flashing lights, noise. How do you really create something that people are going to notice, especially when there's a lot of, you can spend a lot of money on glitz and flashing lights, but I think people really are looking for places to connect. And I think to do better business, you want to create places where you can comfortably have a conversation, where it's inviting to come in and explore, whether it's having conversations with salespeople or looking and looking at and touching the product. I really treat exhibition design the same way you'd be hosting a dinner party with your friends, and getting down to the human level, and really just looking at it through an empathetic lens of, here's a person who has possibly been on their feet all day. They're getting sales information and data and numbers, and you might be the first or you might be the 400th person they've talked to in that day or that week. And so I like to come to it with a hosting attitude, the same way you'd host your friends at home, and try to create an atmosphere where everybody's comfortable, and you've gone and thought of all the things that they're going to go through in the evening. For me, the surprise and delight really happens when you've thought of something on behalf of your visitor that they haven't maybe even thought of themselves. And so my booths, I think one of the reasons why we've been able to get such high engagement, especially on the Blazy Susan side, is I, in a way, will throw away the rule book of exhibition, and sometimes not fixate on sales or product knowledge, or statistics on performance of my product or what my retail margin is and stuff like that. I've found that the best place to share that information, is number one, when prompted, and number two, actually, pre and post show. That's when the person, your guest has not received, a hundred versions of that information in the day, and is in a in a state of cognitive overload sometimes. And so I really like to create places where people can rest in a way. And that doesn't mean that you don't, go for a high quality exhibit, or really tell the story of your product. But really remembering that you have a human being in front of you is really where I like to start. And so I think if there's one takeaway that I'd like to give everybody, is when someone's coming to your booth, you're hosting them in your home. And as a brand, everything about the way you treat that guest should be a reflection of your company values, and really of yourself and your salespeople as individuals. It's humans connecting with humans.
I
Um,
love that point so much, and the how you're emphasizing that kind of 360-degree experience for everybody, from the pre-show to at the show to what they're doing later in the show in the evening, and then when they get back home. So let's kind of dive into it. Do you want to? I'd love to hear what are some of your top tips for. Let's start with pre-show. Like, how is it? What are your tips for, right before the show and helping to drive people to booths?
yeah, I think obviously your email list and your contact list is where the bread and butter is. The same way you reach out to friends to check in on them. We like to practice here. It just maybe call it soft communication. It's not always a hard sell. I think really just taking an extra moment and maybe identifying key people you do want to visit your booth. Sometimes that's a buyer, sometimes that's an industry collaborator. And really, in a lot of these situations, referrals are everything, right? And so bringing in your other industry friends, inviting them to come to the booth, because these are the people that are likely going to have other conversations. You sell product X, they overhear a conversation where somebody's looking for this type of solution or product or service. Uh, we never know how many moments other people are sharing, you know, our product unprompted. And so we really like try to create booths where we invite our friends, they come in, we host them, we have a good time, we catch up. As we know, trade shows are really social. You see everybody hangs out 2 or 3 times a year, especially when you're in an industry show. And really that does a lot to help drive the message out during the show and bring people to your booth. We have situations where some of our biggest accounts, some of our biggest buyers, some of our biggest collaborators in the industry have come through a friend inviting another friend and being like, "Hey, such and such does this work? You guys should meet." And we've had incredible, just business relationships develop out of that. So I think
Exactly.
that,
That referral to referral and everything is so
yeah,
important.
word of
So
mouth is the secret weapon, really. In business, word of mouth is maybe the most powerful piece of marketing that
yeah.
you have.
So I'm hearing extending that invitation and treating it like, come visit me in my home. Love that. And I see that your slides here are all about the prep tips. So, and this gets very nuts and bolts here. So
Yeah.
so let's dive in, like especially if you're talking to a first timer, what are the most important things you want them to know about having successful show prep?
Yeah, and so whether you're a first timer or you've done it for the 100th time, it happens to me. Everybody forgets something. I think it's kind of like training for a marathon, right? You want to get as much stuff out of the way before, so that when it's show day, you're present and focused on the task at hand, which is hosting your guests. And so just what you're seeing is a list of every mistake I've made over the years of doing this, and just remembering, gosh, next time I really got to remember to bring that thing. And if you're a first time exhibitor, you haven't had those moments yet where you're like, darn, I forgot a phone number, or I can't believe I don't have a box cutter to open these boxes when I get my shipment in. And so really the philosophy is, whether it's your checklist or your pre-pack list or assigning someone on your team to take care of these things, when you're at the show, you want to be doing the least possible anywhere else, so that you can focus as much as possible on that hosting aspect. And if you're walking around frazzled, looking for your bottle of water, or if you need a bandage, or if your feet hurt, it's little things like that that start taxing you on show day, and you're not performing your best. You're not there present with your guests and your clients and your customers. So really the big takeaway is creating lists and systems and your toolbox, so to speak, so that on show day you're focused on the show and not running around like a chicken with your head cut off,
Oh, yeah.
looking
And
for your scissors.
right, and really focus too on that order of build-in and what your team is going to be responsible for, and what you might be needing on-site labor for. Because remember, on-site labor can potentially really cost you a lot. So being clear on what on-site labor can do or can't do, like I know you have some amazing stories about that and how to either quickly spend, $1,200 in 2 hours, or maybe save yourself by going and doing something yourself.
Yeah, and so I can go through the list and I'll kind of like pluck out just these are all moments where I've shot myself in the foot. Um, and so for the load-in, for example, I've made this mistake before. We do really big exhibits and we pack these really big 40-foot trucks sometimes, and I've definitely made the mistake of putting my tools at the beginning of the truck but everything else on the back. And so, I'll run into a situation where I have a crate on the end of the truck to load out, but my drill is at the front of the truck. And so I've not shot myself in the foot. So whether you're doing a really big exhibit or a really small one, really just thinking about the order of operations and what you're going to need to do. It could be as simple as, if you're laying down carpet or doing some kind of flooring, when you stack your boxes on your pallet or however you're bringing your exhibition materials in, stack the floor first. So if you have your helpers or your on-site labor, that's the first thing that comes off the top of the box should be the bottom layer of your exhibit, and you build your exhibit from the bottom up. And so just thinking about the order that you're packing things can be really important and can save you a bunch of time of having to unload an entire crate of stuff just to get to the first thing that you have to work on. So your boxing and packing order is kind of a classic tip of just think of the order you're going to build it in and build it backwards so that you're pulling that piece first. And that could be your drills, your box cutters, your bottled water, so you're hydrated when you're working. Little things
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
that become important.
Um, Another thing that I've always been really impressed with Blazy Builds is how resourceful you are. Where I see on your screen you have sourcing from Wayfair and Amazon and IKEA. Being able to tell your staff, or if you're hiring special staff just for the show, like, hey, as long as you can put together something from IKEA, you can put this together. Like, that's a really important thing to think through and be prepared for.
Yeah, I mean, those are all great resources. Exhibitions can get expensive, and I think that there's definitely a time and place for using, the producers of the really high quality graphics. Obviously illuminated signage. All these things increase the production value of the space, but I think that people would be surprised how many kind of great off-the-shelf pieces there are. And this is something we do in Blazy Builds a lot, especially when we're value engineering. Um, a client may say, hey, I need this kind of cubby with this type of finish for storage or for display. And if you start kind of getting familiar with what's available on Wayfair, Amazon, IKEA, or really like what's off the shelf, you can grab something that's off the shelf. Mind you, these things are mass produced, so they tend to be really affordable. And if they get damaged, you've not made this one of a kind custom piece where it's impossible to replace, or you have to re-engage your producer on making this really custom thing. I really love using the structures and the shelves from these places, and then we dress them up. You can buy a nice dresser or shelving system from IKEA, and if you're crafty, you can go on Amazon and find all these fun, graphics and vinyl finishes to take up the production value for not a lot of money. And they tend to be things that are easy to do yourself. So we'll buy vinyl that is intended for like resurfacing countertops, and they come in really fun finishes like marble, carbon fiber, reclaimed wood, and then we'll take that and then we'll grab a couple of IKEA shelves, wrap them up, and then they look custom, they look really sharp, but you haven't broken the bank by having a millwork company make something from scratch. And then if it ever gets damaged or lost, or everything goes well and you need to add more to them because your exhibit is bigger next year, you know where to get them, and they're really reliable, they ship fast, and they're affordable. So,
Right.
not thinking that every booth has to be this 100% custom build, is just something that I've seen even with my clients. Like, they don't even think about that. They're like, oh, I didn't know you could get, these fun plants on Amazon, or this lighting system that looks really expensive and professional, but we're just ordering it, and we're putting some logos on it to kind of make it custom, and it ends up looking great on show day. And then, to speak to the labor side, these things are, they have instructions. They're made to be built, by people in their living room. And so, especially when you have show labor or anybody on staff, it's just a really nice piece where you can hand it off and be like, hey, the instructions are here. Ask me any questions if you need, but you can let people kind of work on their own, because when you have a booth and you have maybe like 5 or 6 people helping you, it ends up becoming a full-time job just to keep track of what everybody's doing, and answering questions. So that's a little
Yeah,
hack that we use, buying off
that's
the
a
shelf.
great That's
And
a great point. Yeah. And to dive into some of your creative ideas, I think you also came prepared with a list of recommendations for where people can get some creative inspiration. Is that right?
yeah, that's going to be on my next slide. So, as a designer, a lot of my visual education comes from social media. That's where you find the trends, and find the hacks, and kind of see what everybody else is up to. I like to use the phrase "great artists steal," and so, I spend a ton of time on Pinterest, a ton of time on Instagram, just doing visual research. All of these, this is I kept it to Instagram here, but all these companies obviously have different touch points. You can probably find them on
Sure.
different
Yeah.
platforms.
I do want to just point out here, from my perspective, in my day job, wouldn't want to be spending all of this time doing the visual research. So I would want to be reaching out to you and be working with a
Yeah,
design builds film firm, and be working with someone who lives and breathes this stuff and has seen all of the things for all of the problem solving and everything. I think that's
yeah.
really important.
I really believe, clever doesn't have to be expensive. And so, obviously, going to a professional, if you can afford it, is it's kind of like having a wedding planner. They've done it 200 times, and they're thinking of the things you haven't even, the unknown unknowns, right? So, if you're early in the exhibition part of your marketing plan, reaching out to creative and design professionals, you're going to have an easier time. But the reality is, you can't always afford that, and sometimes you are doing it yourself or making it up as you go. And so, I just wanted to compile these resources as, places where you can see kind of the best of the best and get some visual inspiration. And I think that, coupled with uh, knowing how to shop online, again, back to the IKEAs and Amazons, you can get a lot of fun ideas and make mood boards out of what these people are doing, whether it's color stories, or clever ways of using lighting, or flooring. A lot of these are just great places to collect mood boards, so you can start your hunt for the
Yeah.
right pieces to put your exhibition together.
And speaking of it, I think you have some more resources. I'd love to hear from you. What's like the one last thing that you'd like to leave people with, or your top three kind of things to help really ensure success for folks.
Yeah, I think in adages. So, what is it? The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today. If you haven't started your planning for the trade show exhibit, today's probably the best day to start. The other one is, like I mentioned, clever doesn't have to be expensive. And so, if you really take the task on the same way you treat your home, and it's like, I don't have an unlimited budget, but maybe investing in one keynote piece and letting the rest of the design story build out from there. And then another one is we've never had so many resources, whether it's social media for inspiration. A lot of the websites that I've shared here have a lot of free resources, whether it's for graphic design. I love using Canva, for example. It's really easy to learn, really easy to use. A lot of these places can show you, hey, this is a great menu or billboard design. Take it into Canva, add your own elements. Um, there's a lot that you can do yourself, and these programs and the software and learning the skill set, YouTube University, right? We've never had so many resources to value engineer these things. It used to be that you'd have to go to only professionals to get these things done. But a lot of these things are really accessible and come with really nice templates that you'd be surprised the production value you can get out of it, just by tweaking a couple colors and adding your brand elements. Um, and then the last one is, show day. Uh, it's theater, right? A lot of people will get fixated on a little ding or a little scratch. You got to look at your booth from 10 feet away, and a lot of times it's don't fixate on the micro, fixate on the macro experience. People do business with people. If you have a nice booth and you're welcoming and warm and are engaging people, that's going to be better for your business a lot of the times than breaking the bank on flashy signage and spinning lights and stuff like that. I really believe in the person to person aspect of the show. I've done great business with tiny booths with a roll up banner, a table, and a high five. It's really how you greet people. And so making sure that on show day you have the bandwidth to be present and engage with people rather than it's almost like, don't worry so much about the booth. Make the booth look good, and then focus on your ground game, so to speak.
Bring the energy. I love it. I
Yeah, it's
love
all
it.
about the energy.
Thank you so much, Marcos, for all of these really incredible tips. You really brought the resources for us. And I would encourage everybody listening to reach out to them for even just a consultation of, how can I be more creative and cost effective with my booth? Because these things are a big investment. And all of us here take that seriously and really want the business to succeed. Thank you again, Marcos.
Of course.
And yeah, and welcome back, Jen. And we're going to go ahead and dive into your portion of the presentation. So I do have your presentation up if you'd like me to go ahead and share that now.
It'd be great. And thank you, Marcus. That was great. I was taking notes and a couple of screenshots of those resources, even though we talked about them in advance. I think that was really inspirational. And it's always good to think outside the box, be creative, and be prepared and focused. So that's what I got out of it.
Agreed. Thank you.
Great. All right. Well, mine is a little more nuts and boltsy, less creative, but want to make sure everybody has the facts and knows where to go as you prepare to exhibit at the event, or just take participate in general or as a sponsor or anything. Here's just a laundry list of some things we're doing. It's not I'm sure there's other things we're doing as well, but the gist of it is we're doing a lot of grassroots and attending events ourselves, getting the word out through email and social media. I'd love to ask a favor. If you guys are seeing our social media posts, if you could reshare them and comment, join in the conversation, that's really great. We have a lot of media coverage happening, and we really are looking forward to getting a great gathering together in June. Marcus talked a lot about coordinating, and there's a lot of moving pieces in getting an exhibit together. And sometimes as a first timer, it can be confusing. And even as someone like me, who's done this for years and years and years on both sides of producing it and exhibiting, it's always different. Every show has its little subtleties. Every city's different. You just have to really pay attention to the communications that come your way, and know that the show organizers are there to help direct you in the right way to get the answers to all your questions. So as we have official show vendors who help us pull all this together. And Taffy Event Strategies, as we introduced, is a company I have that we do all the show production. So the sales, the marketing, the operations, the financial exchanges and everything. And we are kind of if you can't figure out where to go, come to us and we will help answer your questions. Also, the account executives who help bring you into the show, they are great at helping direct you. CSI Worldwide is a great partner, and they help bring all the freight in and set everything up, make the show look great with graphics and signage and furniture and all of those kinds of things. The Javits Center has an in-house catering company, and we have AV. We have ways that you can work through the registration system to capture leads, booth cleaning. There's a whole laundry list, but these are our, preferred vendors. Then the Javits Center will have some exclusive things like internet, booth security, and electrical, which you can order from. All of this information will be packaged for you in a online exhibitor service manual, which will be launched in mid-March. So if you're already participating as an exhibitor, there will be outreach to you of how to access that. And then again, general questions through the website, you can contact our staff and we can help you. But you would be placing a lot of different, or if you're ordering things or shipping things, all the instructions around that are in there. We also encourage you to work through our housing link, which will be part of that and is also on the website. And we've secured room blocks at several hotels that are within walking distance of the convention center. And it's a big city, and you'll find others that are participating in the meeting staying there. So at the hotels within the block. So feel free to make your housing through those links. If you're contacted by anyone other than Connections Housing or somebody from Cannabis Means Business or Taffy Events, it's likely somebody who's reaching out like to solicit you. And we would encourage you to either go direct to a hotel that you are comfortable with or go through our housing link. And that's really the best thing to do. The show floor will be open on Wednesday, June 4th and 5th, and it'll be open from 10 to 5. So that is like the main energy center of the show, and adjacent to it, we'll be having conference sessions that tie into the things going on to the floor. So when you're planning your move-in, again, the exhibitor service manual with all the rules and the services will be available in March, and we'll have pre-show order discounts with a deadline of May 20th in there. You can have access to the hall starting Tuesday, the day before it opens, from 8 to 5, and then we'll have the show. You'll blink, it'll be over. You'll have had a great time, great networking, great connections. And then once the show ends on the 5th, we will go immediately into move out. And then you can also move out on the day after from 8 to noon. You can install and dismantle your own displays if they do not exceed 250 square feet and can be erected with out tools or ladders by your own employees. If it goes outside of that, we recommend that you contact CSI Worldwide for direction in what types of work rules. There's some labor union restrictions within the building, but CSI can help you come up with effective and cost-saving and creative ways to work with labor. They are available to help coach you through that. Some other booth considerations. In a world where we are all trying to be better citizens, sustainability is always a big issue. We try to make donations and make sure we're using materials that are, sustainable. And one of the things when you're planning and shipping, um, don't overpack, don't pack things that you're going to end up throwing away at the end. Try to do things that can be reusable. If you're doing giveaways, you can think about if they could be repurposed somewhere else, and or think about when you put dates on things. Just try to be, mindful of all of that. When you're setting up your booth, there's different types of booths. There's island booths, which are greater than 400 square feet, and then there's inline booths, and there's different regulations around height restrictions and how to set those, and that will be in the service kit. This show is unique as the topic of cannabis and hemp, and we want to just make sure that you understand that the consumption and distribution of products in the convention center is prohibited, and you must adhere to all their regulations and
I
follow.
just want to jump in, Jen, that it's products with THC in them. That's strictly prohibited at the Javits Center.
Yes, yes. And you just need to follow all local, state, and federal laws. If there's questions, we can help facilitate clarification on your product if you're bringing it in.
Yep. Things slowly change when the Javits Center said no THC, and that's a thing that we get to live with.
Yeah. And it's evolving too. So as the world becomes more comfortable and opens up, things will change. And I talk to all the convention centers all across the country, and they're all, learning and trying to be educated about this. And policies are evolving. Let's say that. I mentioned housing, but also when you register, we'll reach out to you as an exhibitor and give you a link to registers where you'll have the right credentials to come in and out of the exhibit hall during the move-in, the show, and move out. If there's any situations where you need access to your booth outside of the published schedule, there's ways you can work through show management, and we can help facilitate if you need to come in a little earlier or tweak your booth when the show closes, those types of things. So again, Connections Housing is our official housing provider, and the link will be on the website and in the kit. I did want to just also touch on the floor plan. We are going to have we're going to try to make this a full, just a real great experience. And we are going to count on the exhibitors to, from Marcus's tips and tricks to create real experiences within your booth. And then we're going to provide educational and networking events. O2 Vape is sponsoring our yacht party, which is world renowned, on the after the exhibits close on the first day. I mean, sorry, on the first day. And then we also have a pre-welcome party at the hotel. And we hope everybody participates in the networking, the education. Another thing we're doing is we're actually building some activations on the floor around the financial sector, retail and brands, empowering entrepreneurs. We're going to have a workforce initiative area and bringing in the state of New York to talk about programs and ways they want to work with our community. We'll be doing a podcast zone. We have a press area. So we want everybody to really, take this experience and take advantage of all the different moving pieces to it. We're going to have a women's luncheon on the second day, and a lot of different groups coming in to have meetings with their associations and coalitions. So it's just going to be a great place for everybody to come together.
Absolutely. In the heart of New York City, which is one of the fastest and most quickly evolving markets, and of course in the heart of the whole Northeast region for the states. So having seen some sneak peeks at the programming, it's going to be really exciting, relevant, timely, and full of actionable information. So at this point, we'll go ahead and wrap up. I would like to invite my panelists to please drop their contact information in the chat. Everybody is really happy and eager to reach out and answer any questions and just talk. You know, the cannabis industry is always super friendly, and we're here to support each other. All right. Well, any last words from our panelists? We appreciate your time and sharing your expertise so very much.
Thanks for having us. I love to be helpful. If anybody on the attendees side has any questions, feel free to reach out to me personally. I have my design studio, which is waveexperimental.com. I'll share all that information in the notes. And then we do all the production here at Blazy Builds. If you guys need anything made for the show, be happy to chat with you guys about that. And really, you know, any questions at all, you know, whether you're looking for a specific product or you're trying to solve a technical problem, I'm happy to make myself available to chat. And yeah, just trying to be helpful. And and I know how stressful this can be. And you know, we don't want people stressed out the day of the show. We want them to have a good time.
In it to win it. Thank you, Marcus. Jen, any last words?
Just thank you for supporting the show and joining in the conversations. I want to give a shout out to our whole team, the sales team, Christine Iannuzzi, marketing and operations, and Jill, you did a great job hosting, so thank you very much. And really looking forward to June and all the weeks leading up to it.
Yeah, we're here to create the connection. Thank you so much for joining.